Yeah, so let's get into it. Let's get into the game and talk about how lucky we were to actually win that game. And my first observations were if we the biggest things I took away from that game were I understand when we look back at the first half, I can't remember. I think it was in the second quarter, but when we went for it on fourth down instead of taking the field goal and getting the extra points, we were trying to be aggressive and get that first down, which I understand we've been really aggressive this year in going for it on fourth downs, especially in the red zone and 10 yards or shorter towards goal line. It seems like obviously you can't predict how the game's going to go, but if we would have had those 3 points on top of the other 3 points that Matt Prater missed in the second half, also that we would have already had those 6 points at the end of the game and been tied, and all we would have had to get was a field goal. So again, sorry, you can't control Matt Prater miss if he's going to miss, which normally he always makes those. That was under 50 yards. I think that was his first miss under 50 yards in at least a few years. I can't remember the last time I saw Matt Prater miss under 50 yards. So, but yeah, and then like I said, also you can't predict the end of the game, and you just try to be aggressive and go for it. And if we would have went for it and got that fourth down conversion and got that touchdown again, it would have been a completely different story. So
Atlanta went down after we didn't get the touchdown on that fourth down conversion, and Atlanta went down and scored.
mm-hmm.
So they were having a great time. Those long drives, so say we went for it on fourth down and we got it, that's 7 points for us, and then maybe Atlanta doesn't go down and score, so minus 7 points for them. Exactly. Or we don't get it, we kick the field goal, that's 3 points, minus 7 points for them. Still, I mean, yes, you can't say that, oh yeah, they wouldn't have scored even if you would have not given them the ball that close to the goal line, but they were the best coming down from the long yards going to the get a touchdown. So maybe not going for it would have helped us a little bit, but it's football and you got to be aggressive.
Yeah, again, you can't predict the future, and we've seen with other teams and how effective going forward on fourth down has been for them. And again, we've been pretty successful this year. I'm not sure the exact stat line right now, but I know that we are pretty much over 50% on our fourth down conversions this year. So again, if we're going on the 50-50 chance and we're over 50, you got to go with them odds. But
it was a great play call too. The Atlanta just got around our offensive line. I was going to say that we ran the guy around thinking that the linebacker would fall off following that guy. So it was a great call. It just didn't go as they planned. And if Stafford could have noticed it, Stafford probably would have changed it or something. But Stafford just didn't notice it. I don't know. But he was expecting the backer to go with the in-motion guy, not trying to come around to get Peterson, which, again, that's another thing. Atlanta was trying to be aggressive, and if we could have noticed that and hit that in-motion wide receiver, scored a touchdown that way too.
But yeah, Atlanta just read that play too well. They knew what was. But obviously, the biggest play that everyone in the NFL world is talking about is Todd Gurley rushing into the end zone and falling into the end zone for giving us an opportunity to score, which a lot of people are blaming it on Todd Gurley. Some people are blaming it on the Falcons defense for giving up that amount of points and giving up that amount of yards in under a minute with no touchdowns left. So
I can't blame it on Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley made a mistake and scored, but it wasn't like it was his fault. He was just running. Our offensive line let him through, but then Will Harris was actually trying to make a play. And I watched the Matt Patricia interview yesterday, and they asked him about that, and he goes, "Yeah, there's some pointers on that to try to get some contact, so then your force continues taking you to the end zone instead of just you being able to slide your knee down."
Yep.
And that worked perfectly because it carried him into the end zone. He tried to stop, but the ball crossed the plane, and he scored. And Stafford just turned into 2011 Stafford. 64 seconds left on the clock, no timeouts. Throws the first pass to Kenny Galladay, incomplete pass. It's kind of looking like maybe we're not going to go down the field and score. Then he throws it to TJ. TJ doesn't get out of bounds, makes a rookie mistake or a second-year mistake. So, I mean, he's still young. He doesn't 100% know that. Then
And
makes
according to I believe it was the TV broadcasters, when he's at Iowa, they teach them tight ends purposely not to go out of bounds, to purposely stay in bounds and fight for more yards and everything like that. I don't know much about Iowa football, but apparently that's what they're taught, to try and just fight for more yards and not go out of bounds. So it's just in his head to not go out of bounds, and he's in the NFL, and you got to think, like you just said, it's a younger player's mistake, that you got to think about situational football and know where you're at and what time you have on the clock and everything like that.
And then Stafford's beautiful pass to Danny Amendola in the middle of the field. And then if you watch that play against that throw to Kenny Galladay, Stafford doesn't even step into the throw. Stafford's just staying there in the pocket and just throws a perfect dot right to Kenny Galladay.
Oh yeah, it was a beautiful play. The whole
he didn't step into it, nothing. He just stood there and just threw it. And that shows you right there that Stafford is back.
Mm-hmm.
I think Stafford, those first couple weeks was kind of him getting back to not having missed 10 games last year.
Mm-hmm.
So it was I think finally Stafford's back to himself. These past 2 games, Stafford has looked like the Stafford that we all love and know.
Yeah.
And
I've talked about it off air with you, or off podcast with you, that in the first few games, the first couple of weeks, it definitely looked like, in my opinion, I'm not a professional quarterback reader. I've never played quarterback or anything like that in my life. But to me, it looked like he was uncomfortable on the pocket. It looked like he was kind of afraid to get hit those first few weeks, because as Dalton just mentioned, that he was still getting adjusted. He's coming off a back injury. He hasn't actually gotten really hit in a real game, because there was no preseason, no nothing. He hasn't gotten physically hit by a real defensive end in a long time. So those first few weeks, it just seemed like he was uneasy. He was really quick to scramble out of the pocket when he was any type of breakdown of pressure. But again, as you mentioned, these last 2 weeks against Jacksonville and Atlanta, he's looked very solid. His footwork is very solid. He's standing right there. He's not running. It seems like he's back to his old normal self, like you said, back to I think it was 2016, where he had 8 comebacks in the fourth quarter, and he's starting to look
2011.
No, I think it was 2006 or 2016.
The Monday night game said it was 2011 Lions. Or no, it was the 2011 Lions that had the most 13-point plus comeback.
Yeah, it was. I believe
in a single season.
I think it was 2000.
But it was 2000. Yeah, because Golden Tate and Antonio Brown and stuff. Yeah, so it was 2016. Yeah, I hadn't. Yeah,
and that was the year that we came back against Atlanta with the double kick or whatever with Prater and everything. So
yeah.
So yeah, he's looking like 2006 Stafford again, where he's making
16.
Thank you, 2016 Stafford, where he's making all these comebacks and everything like that with a minute left. Sorry, they talked about dagger time a lot this offseason, and it seems like that's finally coming into play. And see if we can continue that effect and keep that mentality to know the situational football and everything.
And then obviously on the last play, which I don't know if you guys noticed, but they did move the ball back.
Yep. And
Kenny Galladay caught it on the 8-yard line, and when Stafford hiked it, we were on the 11.
And the refs did come out and say that they misplaced it, that they did place it back further than it should have been. I don't know if that was the refs purposely trying to screw us or they just honestly made a mistake, but still, I feel like that's I feel like that's a very, very fixable mistake. You just look at where he landed and go place it on that yard line. Also, there should be a line judge, who always does a right here, right there on where he caught it, but I don't know. Again, I'm not a line judge. I don't know how this shit works, but
yeah. And I mean, and also if you guys kind of had questions about, we came down, spiked the ball, and then they did a booth review on the Kenny Galladay catch, was just because the ref didn't want to call it stop time and stuff to check the play in case Detroit wasn't able to get set up and get a spike off.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they don't get a spike off, there's no time left. There's no sense of even checking to see if that play counted because the game's over.
Yeah.
So that's why they waited till Stafford spiked the ball, then did the play.
Yeah.
Just to make sure it was caught and they had time and everything. And that's why once the replay was done, the clock continued to run and Stafford had to spike it again.
Yeah, so again, a few observations we can make from the end of the game is, as you mentioned, with that play, that whole Todd Gurley scoring play. For anyone who is a fan of the Pat McAfee show, I refer back to that show a lot because you get a lot of good, solid, straight information from players, from NFL insiders that report to him a lot. So I refer back to him a lot. But also, there is an incentive in Todd Gurley's contract that I think I might be wrong on this, but I believe it's if he gets 13 touchdowns this year, he gets an extra $500,000. That's an extra $500,000. So was that running through his head when you're playing for a 1-4, possibly about to be 1-5, even if you're 2-4 team? Do you Would you care more about getting the money for yourself, or do you care about winning situational football? Because when we've seen this video going on all around online, remember when the Rams played us 2 years ago and he purposely ran out? It was running straight towards the end, had a wide open run, and then cut over and slid down still. So he knows to get down. He knows situational football.
And again, it was a different there because they weren't as close as the Falcons were to the end zone, and he didn't get let through and then have contact to where, like I said, his momentum, he had to get through that tackler, so his momentum was still dragging him forward, to where in 2018, they were farther back. There was no safety coming straight at him. He was able to do that little run and slow down his momentum and stop and stuff. So I can't say it's on Todd Gurley. I'm just saying, if I'm an Atlanta fan, your defense cannot let a team go down with 64 seconds left and score.
Yeah. Like I said, that last drive, Stafford talked about dagger time. Our offensive line is looking good again. There was some pressures on Stafford. There was some times where we had to scramble out of the pocket in that last one, especially on the very last touchdown, which, again, that was great instinctive by Stafford, where he saw the defensive lineman. He went to throw, and he saw the defensive lineman coming up, so he kept the ball, jolted over. TJ Hawkinson made the adjustment, and he threw it over to him, and all's well as all well.
TJ Hawkinson made up for him not getting out of bounds. He 100% made up for that.
He totally redeemed himself.
In situations like that, you literally have like the first 5 yards is a route, and then it's once you get in the end zone, you just sit there and run around until you find an opening for Stafford to get it to you. So TJ Hawkinson read that Stafford was getting out of the pocket and knew to go that way to where there was a gap. Stafford could hit TJ Hawkinson. Hawkinson caught it as he was going down. So then that also avoids him getting hit, causing him to drop it. So it was a great play from Stafford, for one, getting out of the pocket and extending it. And it was a great play by Hawkinson to get into the open zone and catch the ball and go down with it so he doesn't get hit.
Yeah. And just one more quick thing before we move on is the whole, like you were just mentioning, about being able to scramble and get open in the end zone. You have to think there's probably at least 3, possibly 4 people scrambling all around in that end zone trying to get open. So you have to either take your defender off your person without running into your own player and running them. So again, we don't really see it because the camera angles they always give us. So unless you have like the NFL replay or something like that,
or you're at the game,
yeah, unless you're at the game or something, it's hard to see those type of angles, and it's hard to see how hard it is to get open when you're in the end zone, or when your quarterback's scrambling and you're trying to scramble and get open. And again, I think there's 10 yards of space in the end zone that you have to work with, and you're trying to run in there. So again, just being able
without going out of bounds.
Yeah, all that and coming back in. So again, that itself right there is a very talented thing to do itself. So